one chapter that I thought was particularly important and I really wanted to talk to you about is America needing deliverance. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I'm a veteran of the Air Force. I love America. And I think this country, greatest country in the world, in the history of the world, has a real special calling. I believe that. I believe God's given us a special calling to promote human dignity and freedom and democracy in the world. Now, we haven't always done that. And sometimes we've done that badly. But I think we need to be a bastion from all those wonderful Christian values. Excuse me. But, you know, of doing this ministry, you get a sense of Satan's footprints. When Satan's particularly effective or powerful in a place, what do you see? Discord. That's the first sign. Discord, violence, hatred, judgmentalism. And what do we see in this country? The division is unbelievable. It wasn't like that when I was a kid. The terrorism. People didn't go into schools and shoot kids and innocent people. It's going on all the time. What? That's clearly Satan's footprints. The way we speak to each other now. Clearly violence and discord, the anger. My gosh, I drive down the street, the anger on the streets is just palpable. So yeah, this country needs, and I say, by the way, I say the Leo the 13th exorcism prayers every day for this country. And I think we need it. Again, I love America, but there are clear footprints of Satan these days, and we need to marshal our spiritual forces and pray.
Our culture is in a particular precarious situation. Underneath Satan, there are what we call the five generals. The five generals are the five demons that are immediately hierarchically underneath Satan, and they are the ones who execute his plans. In some cases, they call it the table, because it's basically they get to divide up certain things. The first demon under him is Baal. Baal, now, Satan actually is the demon of impurity, but Baal is a demon of impurity. His principal function is to get cultures to succumb to impurity, primarily through fornication. Once the fornication sets in, then what happens is that the perspective that the conjugal act is ordered towards children is lost. From that arises the idea that sex should be recreational and that you can use it for any way you get pleasure, that's fine. So Baal lays the groundwork. We saw this in our own country. It was called the free love movement. He lays the groundwork. The next thing he tries to do is, although in our country he managed to pull something off that was rather extraordinary. The next thing is after that, as we read from St. Paul, God delivers men and women up to their lusts, and men will start to want to sleep with men and women with women. Which basically means what? Once the spirit of fornication sets in, which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, in the New Rite, they removed this from the spirit of fornication, deliver us from the Litany of Saints, at the very time that the free love movement gained ascendancy. What we pray for is what we get. You don't pray for it, you're not going to get it. After that, then what happens is the culture, the next three demons show up. The first is Asmodeus. He's the demon of homosexuality in men. Then there's the demon of Leviathan, which is the demon of homosexuality in men, but of the masculine kind. These are the women who are heavy on the heels, we would say. Okay. Then there is the spirit of Lilith, which is the more seductive form of female homosexuality. After those have gained ascendancy in a culture, which, by the way, if you look at the cultures, every single culture is pushed in this direction. Okay. So, historically, not just ours, but historically, this is always the progression. Once you have fornication, you end up with contraception, and then the upshot of that is homosexuality and then abortion. Balphomet is the fifth one, and he's the demon of child sacrifice, abortion. In our culture, think of this. They shot down the fornication laws, and so they delivered us into the hands of Baal. Then they had Roe versus Wade and delivered us into the hands of Balphomet. And then they allowed gay marriage, and so now our country politically is in the hold of the top 5 demons in hell other than Satan. They delivered us into their hands. That's where we're at. Okay. So we're all in this spiritual warfare. This is a level that we're all dealing with. Let's face it, 100 years ago, people in that culture weren't dealing with the level of spiritual warfare that we're dealing with. The types of spiritual warfare don't change. It's just the amount of it. And the more sin that people commit, the more empowered the demons become, and then the worse it actually gets.
So knowing all this, is there something that lay people can do to combat this besides living holy lives?
Well, you know, I just in my own blog, by the way, I do have a blog. And by the way, we do have a website, catholicexorcism.org. And also we have an app called Catholic Exorcism. On that app, you can find a lot of great prayers. So a lot of deliverance prayers the lady can say. So Catholic Exorcism, download the app or go to our website, www.catholicexorcism.org, and you'll find some great prayers. And my latest blog post, I talk about the power of the rosary. When we do an exorcism and I'm saying the exorcism prayers, I often will have the lay people in the room praying the rosary. And in one time in an exorcism, I think it was Father Amorth was doing a famous Roman exorcist, and he was commanding the demons to tell the truth. And Satan said to him, every time a Hail Mary on the rosary is said, it's like a nail in my head.
Wow.
So yeah, no, it's we often will say, almost always, I will always in an exorcism we'll say the Hail Marys and ask Our Lady to intercede with her Son Jesus to cast out the demons.